Hey folks, Russ here, come from the shop. Yesterday we got the Jeep running, took it for its inaugural test drive. Kind of a shakedown cruise, if you will. Even grabbed the wife, went, got some ice cream, top down, doors off, everything. It was kind of fun. Got it back in the shop last night because the weather was coming in and I don't have a top on it yet. So today, first part of this video, well, for starters, today I'm going to install the windshield channel so that I can at least put a bikini top on it. I'm going to get the stereo installed, and it's a stereo. I'm not going to shoot. I might shoot video later when we do all the rest of the speakers and the amplifier and subwoofer and all that, but just putting a head unit in and wiring in the dash speakers, I'm not going to shoot video of that. That's kind of simple, and I'll explain some of that. But today I want to talk about the Painless wiring harness kit. My thoughts, observations, especially in regards to mating this kit into a CJ7 with an aftermarket or the factory, whatever, however you want to do it, fuel injection system. Not at all hard to do. As I said previously, there are some wires in the kit that you're not going to use. There are some wires in the kit that you may want to repurpose for other things. And I'm going to pick the camera up and kind of show the install and talk about a little bit of that stuff. So here we go. Now I want to start by saying, if you're doing a Jeep CJ7 or CJ5, and you got to remember, if it's a CJ7, 86 was the last year they were made. So at this point right now, the newest wiring set you're going to have in a CJ in an 86 would be, let's see, it's currently 2023, so 33, 39, almost 40 years old. At the time of install, probably 40-year-old wiring. It's worth the investment to just replace it all. It really is. Anyway, just wanted to get that out of the way. I'm going to flip the camera around here. Let's see if I can find a pointer. Nah, I'm not going to worry about it. I'll just use my fingers. So, with the Painless kit, we'll start. It is a pretty slick install, and it's not that it's painless, it is less pain, if that makes sense. There are some wires under the dash that aren't going to be used. Everything is labeled very well. Let me come around here. Let's see. So it has its own bundle just for the radio, and like I said, I'm going to install the radio today. Normally, because modern radios use the switch relay internal, I would normally go, and of course your yellow is your constant power for clocks and stuff, but modern radios with MOSFET amps used a switched relay internally, so all the accessory is doing is switching over for switching that relay over to draw power all the time, other than, you know, for the amps and everything. So normally I would run a very large wire direct from the battery, but since I'm only going to drive a pair of 5.5-inch speakers off the head unit, I'll just wire it direct in. So that's the radio wiring. We've already routed our speaker wires. This bundle of wiring here that I don't have hooked up is, I think that's for the air conditioning, and these are, I'd have to look them up, but there's provisions in the wiring harness for an accessory mounted external of the vehicle, like fog lights or something. And so you would wire your switch to this, and then in the engine bay, wire in the relay to power your whatever. Other than that, pretty much everything in the dash is used. clock wiring, the tack wiring, even though I've run aftermarket gauges, they've got very good instructions on how to set all that stuff up. One thing I did do is all my backlighting is I used blue LEDs, and the reason I used blue, well, the reason I used LED is because it'll last forever and I won't have to mess with them. But the reason I used blue, the factory lamps had that bluish green tint to it. Now I can't replicate that. Well, maybe somebody does, but as for right now, so I decided to go with blue, and it's a modern LED, and they dim very well. So that's why I use blue. It actually looks pretty cool. I still have to install, I've got the Painless makes the courtesy lights, the floorboard lights, and there's a provision on the harness to direct plug them in. I have to install those. So that's pretty much it in the cabin. I think I talked about it earlier, but like I said, it's a pretty clean install, and the wiring, tucks under the way it should and follows the factory routing. And they put grounds everywhere, even back here for the taillights. So the Painless kit is set up very well if you're trying to install this into a fiberglass tub, where you're not using the tub as a ground. Works great. So there's ground at every end of the wiring harness. So for the taillights, for your trailer pigtail, both sides of the taillight, there's a separate ground wire for it. So that if you were installing that into a fiberglass tub, you had a place to ground things. So you would be able to ground that, take that ground wire right to the light assembly to ground it out. Ingenious. And in our case, we just took them straight to chassis ground, but what that enables is I'm not going to have any ground problems at all in this vehicle, because the wiring harness is grounded at so many places throughout. So let's come here to the engine bay. Of course, the wire, the other side of the firewall connector, it is kind of opposite the factory firewall connector, the way where the wires came out. So the fuse box is kind of redesigned. I like it, but of course, we come up through here. It's got the terminations. You have to build your terminations for your washer reservoir, and the horn wires come out at the same point up here. And then obviously it goes into the core support to run your headlights and such. One of the things I added was a headlight relay set, so that my headlight power is not running through the switch. Only the power to flip the relays runs through the switch. Of course, you route your main engine harness, comes over the master cylinder, and you zip tie it to to those white straps there, and then it comes down. I thought about how to route this side, and I decided there's plenty of wire, so we routed it down the firewall behind the battery and brought it up here. This is an aviation looming that I've got. I drilled a single hole to put a wire wire tie down there, and wire tie down there to bring it to my starter relay. And as you can see, I've got some excess wire just loomed up there. I'm actually just going to leave it as it. Well, actually, the AC wire, since I'm not putting AC in, I will probably use the AC wire, since it does come from the inside the cabin, because I'm going to put 2 sets of lights on. So I may repurpose that AC wire, or I may just run something else and leave that loomed up. Because I don't ever want to be the dreaded previous owner, I will leave all this wiring, all the excess wiring. I'll terminate the end with a dead end, loom it up, and zip tie it to the harness where it's at. So that should I die, because I plan on driving this till I die, should I die and the next person that has it and they want to take this out and put a carbureted engine in or put something different in, the wiring is all still there. The Painless harness comes set up with, I think it's like, it's set up to do like 4 or 5 different types of alternators. None of which are the alternator I'm running, because I'm running the MPI set. So I don't need any of that power. Actually, no, there's one of them I did need. The other 2 I don't. So that's some of this stuff wired up. And actually, the blue tag here is was one of the, I think that's the electric choke wire. And if you noticed, I've wrote CEL on it for check engine light. So that'll be my battery feed. And it'll run back in through the original firewall connector for the computer. So I will run that feed in there, as well as that purple wire over there, which is the ground out for the check engine light for the MPI. So that's going to get used. The rest of it will get just loomed up. And yeah, that's about it as far as the Painless wiring goes. I'll shoot another video talking about, specifically about the Mopar MPI install. I'm going to do it, but honestly, it's a moot point. You can't get the MPI kit anymore. Hesco doesn't sell it. They've decided to go to a GM type system, and I don't know why, but they did, and that's okay. But I'll still shoot a video talking about it, talking about where I put some things and how some things were wired up. And then I'll shoot a separate video just about the wiring of the 4-liter alternators, the ones used in the 91 to 96 or 95 Wrangler, 91 to pretty much end of production Cherokee, and pretty much the entire production TJ. I'll talk about that alternator specifically. I know a lot of people are putting those into their CJs or carbureted YJs, doing these motors and injection systems of somehow, whether it's a scabbed in system or whether they've managed to find an MPI kit from Hesco or whatever, specifically which wire hooks where. Because Benny at Hesco, great guy, but his answer is hook them up, and if it doesn't charge, change the wires around. Well, I didn't want to do that. I did the research and found out exactly which terminal, which colored wire coming off that connector on the back of the Cherokee, Wrangler, TJ alternator does what. So I'm going to shoot a video later just about that. So as far as today goes, I'm going to put a radio in, and I think I'm going to pause for now. When I come back, I'll have the radio installed and we'll be listening to it just for a second, and we'll close this video out. Alright, we're back at the house now. We've got the bikini top installed. I've got the wipers installed. We've got the radio installed. And simple enough. It's an easy radio. I went with a Sony Marine rated radio. And just a quick snippet of it. Don't want any copyright strikes, but it works. Anyway, that's all I got for now. If you like this content, go ahead and hit like, hit subscribe, hit that bell icon for future notifications, and as always, there's more to follow.